Hello everyone, I'm going to walk you through making your surreal double exposure portrait. So you need to start on Pixlr E. That is step one of our document. You're going to open your image of your person, and I am not using a person, I am using my dog. So I'm opening my picture from my desktop. I like to keep it as big as I can. And then your next step, number two, is sorry, still on number one, resize and crop it. So I want just to be able to, focus in on the dog's head. Um, so I'm going to crop it in close by using my crop tool over here. And then I have just slid in my edges and I'm just hitting enter or return. Next, I'm going to go to layer and create a new layer. To fill this layer with white, I'm going to use the fill tool, which is this, it looks like a paint bucket. And I'm not actually going to use white, I'm going to use sort of a grayish color. If you wanted to choose a different color, you would click on this top circle because that's your color palette. And then you would click any place in here you want, click down here. These are the recent colors you've used. You can even go to your image itself and match a color by sliding it over whatever it is that you want, and it will change that color. So if I click there, it's picking up the background and it's a little bluer, it's a little less tan. So I'm going to go with that. And that just selected my color. And now you can see I'm still on layer two. I'm going to click on it and it turns it that color. Step number four is to drag this layer below your background layer. Step number five says click on the background layer and remove the background. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You could, in the very beginning, use Pixlr BG to remove your background. I find it works better with some images than others. Because you're starting hopefully with a photograph that we've done in class up against a white backdrop, it may work better for you than this. So this is not bad. It's kind of got a little bit of a white outline. His legs and stuff fade away in there. So that would work. I could do it this way and click download and then, do that in the beginning. But I think what I'm going to do instead is do a couple of things just so you can see how they work. This is the magic wand. I'm going to click that. And anything over here that I click, any color, it's going to grab all of it. So I'm clicking on the background and it grabbed a lot of the snow. So I'm going to go to Command or Control X to delete it. And if I turn off this white background now, you'll see that I have a checkerboard that shows me where everything is. And so from there, I'm going to go in and be a little more selective, clicking on my eraser tool. My brush is a little small, or my eraser is a little small, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I like the soft edges so that if I overlap something, it's not going to get in the way. And then I'm going to zoom in and just do some erasing. I think I still want a larger brush. So I'm going to, ooh, too big. There we go. So I can just sort of zip along here. You notice that it's a soft edge, so I don't have to worry too much about, cutting into something. I'm going to get rid of the tail from behind him because I don't think we need to see that. It was a funny angle that he was standing at. And I'm just using my navigator to sort of bring me around the picture. I like to zoom in so I can really see what I've got. There's some branches over here that I'm going to get rid of. And it's kind of handy to do it this way while you have the white or the light colored background turned off, so you can really see what you're getting rid of. And I'm just going to come down here. I'm going to cut off his legs. Oh no. And you can do this with like a smaller brush along the edges and then come back in and clean it up a little bit more, with a big brush. So if I wanted to do it like this, I could get right up next to it and not worry too much about cutting off too much. So I'm going to just come in here with my outline eraser, a small eraser, and then I can zoom back out again, make my eraser big again, and sort of get it all with the broad strokes. There we go. Soften up that bottom edge a little bit. So it's kind of like a head and shoulders view on a person. All right, so now I may need to crop it again because there's a little more on the bottom showing. So I'm going to go to crop, bring up the bottom a teeny bit, but I don't want to squeeze them too much, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to turn the background back on again so we can see the white. Now I'm going to go to the filter, effect library, click on Too Old, and choose Tom. You can try this with different filters if you want. This is just one method that I'm showing you how to use. Now you're going to add the double exposure image. So I'm on step number 8. I'm going to layer, add image as layer, and then I'm going to choose a photograph of our pond from my downloads. I think I'm going to take this one and open it. And because I'm adding it as a layer, it's going to go right on top. So I can resize it if necessary and then move it around a little bit. Right now, it's kind of a guessing game because you're not seeing both images, so you may not exactly know what you want. But I'm just going to shrink it up a bit. There we go, until it's the same height. And then I'm going to go to Filter, Effect Library again, Too Old, and Tom. So now both of my photos are going to have the same filter. I find it interesting that one of the filters is the same name as my dog, which is Porter. Now we're going to go to the layer settings for that layer by right-clicking on it or clicking the 3 little dots to the left of the thumbnail. So here's the thumbnail. Here are the 3 little dots. I can either click here or I can do a 2-finger tap, a right-click, and it also pops up. The more of the shortcuts you get to know with a program like this, the faster everything goes. Now, we're going to slide the transparency down just a little bit so that we can see both images. And number 11 says to make any fine-tuned changes to how they line up. So here's where I can decide, do I want it bigger? Do I want it smaller? Where do I want those clouds to be? I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Slide it over, something like that. I've done this a couple of times, and every time I do it, it's a little different, which is fine. And then readjust your transparency back up to 100. We only did that just so you could see them. We're going to mess with it later. All right. Now, you are going to, for step number 13, you want to click on the portrait layer, whatever the picture of your person is, and you want to duplicate it. So again, you can either right-click it or click the 3 little dots, and then click this icon to duplicate layer. Then you're going to move it up to the top above all the other layers, and you're just going to do that by dragging and dropping. Open layer settings again and select blend mode, mask. Then you're going to merge that layer down so it merges with the background. And you should see something that looks like this, where there's a white edge all the way around, and where your person would be, the shape of it is just showing the photograph of your second image. Again, you're going to go back here to your portrait image and you're going to duplicate it and then move it to the top again. And you see just what we basically started with. So in the layer settings, again, for that layer, go to blend mode and click on lighten and adjust the transparency so you can see both images. This is the beginning of what you're going to do to it, so don't feel like you have to, have it just perfect here. But we want to make sure that you can sort of see both of them fairly well. Mine looks like 75 is going to work. You're going to activate this second background copy here by clicking on it. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And then you're going to click the cutout mask tool over on the left-hand side. It looks like a pair of scissors. And then up here, you're going to click the paintbrush that says Draw Mask. And then you're going to change some settings. Adjust the brush over here so that the size is 400. The softness is 40. And these are approximate. And the opacity up here is about 50. So what that's going to do is give you a big soft brush that is going to wipe away parts of the image a little bit